Can I have some of that too?
Rub it in, okay? Rub it in. Put on your arm too. It's on your hand now. It's strong. So now you rubbed your face. Now you can rub your hand, okay?
Habib, maybe we should start.
Okay. You ready?
Yes, we're ready, Habib. Yep.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم الصراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره والدار العظيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وأزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وذرياته وأهل البيت كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم إني أسألك من كل خير سألك منه محمد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأعوذ بك من كل شر استعاذك منه محمد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا وما أنت أعلم بما منا ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من فتنة المحيا والممات ومن فتنة القبر ومن فتنة المسير الجالي ومن عذاب النار المصير اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ونبيك ورسولك النبي الأمي ورضي الله عن أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم يا حمد الشيخ احضرينا بهذا المحضر ولتأتي في مدارة تعدينا بضعف أما بعد الحمد لله. Listen, I need you to be quiet, man. Start a class, okay? Go to Ma. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to our weekly Maliki Fiqh class with our teacher, Shaykh Ameen Abdul Awal, the top student of Dr. Suleiman Dunya, the renowned Dr. Suleiman Dunya, rahmatullah alayhi.
Sound went out.
SubhanAllah. Sorry, thank you. Welcome to our weekly Maliki Fiqh class with our teacher, Shaykh Ameen Abdul Awal, the top student of Dr. Suleiman Dunya, the renowned luminary from Azhar University, the scholar of Maliki Fiqh and Aqidah and Tasawwuf and the history of Islamic philosophy. Shaykh Ameen, as I said, is the top student of Dr. Suleiman Dunya in this part of the world. Teacher of Maliki Fiqh. Been studying and teaching Maliki Fiqh for over 5 decades, which is unheard of in our part of the world, and teaching lessons from the book Ashar As-Saghir, which is the high graduate level text in the Maliki Madhab used at Azhar University. I'm not going to give a long introduction today, but I want to mention to everyone that we are in the blessed month of Muharram, one of the 4 sacred months in the Islamic calendar, and the first month of the Islamic calendar. And we know the 10th day of Muharram is a special day when the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to fast. And we thank Allah Ta'ala for the chance to gather to remember him and to take this information in this sacred and blessed month. So I am congratulating you all and making dua for you all for gathering to take advantage of this information, and praying that Allah help you and me to understand it and to implement it in a way that is pleasing to him, and that he bless and protect and preserve and elevate and reward our teacher, Shaykh Ameen, and his teachers as well. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Shaykh Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh Ameen.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وأزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وذرياته وآل بيته كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. And about so I left off at and these was called the details of the decisions of Kabis. Kabis again is physical impurities, not the spiritual ones that make you need wudu and or ghusl, but the physical impurities. So I'm going back to where I left off. It says, if you do not know that your clothes are impure, and you say your prayers, and then you finish, then you discover an impurity, your prayer is considered as still valid. And the biggest reason for that is because in order for you to correct an impurity, you have to have knowledge that it's there. So if you didn't see it or nothing gave you a signal that you have an impurity and you made your prayer and then realized that there was an impurity, you don't have to make your prayer again, according to the Madhab Imam Malik and this decision of Fiqh. And this is why study is absolutely necessary. I know one time I asked Dr. Dunya something, and I said, well, that seems like it's logical. It would fall right into, what is logical. And he looked at me and said, well, in jurisprudence, you can't exactly say that because the rulings themselves, what we consider as logic, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may not consider that as his logic. So that you can't always say in jurisprudence, well, the logical answer is. It has to be that this answer is an answer that comes from the jurist after deliberation and after looking into the history of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then we find what is logical from that standpoint, not from what our mind tells us. So this is the thing about study of jurisprudence. It's very technical. So again, in this particular thing, is that Ahmed? Is Ahmed on the line? Imam Ahmed Abdul Salam. MashaAllah. Okay, so yeah, I want you to, when you're taking these notes, try to be as specific as you can. Because when you give this information to your students later and to other people, you're going to want to give them the correct decision so that it's in accord with the jurisprudence of the Imam Malik Madhab Rahmatullahi alayh. Okay. It says, if you don't know that your clothes are impure, but in the prayer itself, you find out about this or discover that the clothes are impure while in the prayer, in this case, you must remove the impurity by washing it. They have some other ways to remove the impurity by, anyway, let me just finish this part. If you have enough water or some other pure clothes that you can change into, and you have enough time before the prayer is finished to do at least one whole rakat, and that means without Fatiha, the surah, ruku, the two sajda, then you cut your prayer and the prayer becomes invalid. But if you have no water and there isn't enough time to wash and or make one complete rakah of prayer, then you continue your prayer. Therefore, when you are forgetting about the impurity, or you don't know about it, and you discover this impurity while in the prayer, and when you forget about the impurity and remember while in prayer, provided that you have enough water to wash, or you have a clean and pure set of clothes to change into, and you have time enough after you change your clothes or wash to make one complete rak'ah during that, in that time period. If all these conditions are available, then you must cut your prayer and wash or change your clothes and start a new prayer. But if you do not have any water, nor pure clothes to change into, or you do not have enough time. Time is means that before the prayer goes into, it's overdue time. And this is a subject, I haven't even covered this subject with you. So I basically gave you some information that you can judge when the good time for a prayer has left or is leaving by, is the new prayer's time beginning? Generally, if the new prayer's time is beginning, that means the prayer that's already come in should have been made already. If it hasn't been made already, then you could consider that you are going out of its proper time. So this is what they mean when they say, and the time is available that you can make your prayer in its proper time. If you see you're making Zohar, as an example, you're making Zohar, and you see from the signs that Zohar is leaving and As is coming, and you have enough time before As comes to make one whole rak'ah, and I told you with the standing recitation, the rukur, standing from rukur, the sujuds, the two sujuds, and the sitting in between. That's one whole rakat. If only they, and the reason they telling you that is because, let's say a person, he realizes, okay, I'm getting ready to lose the good time for Dhuhr because Asr is coming. So how much time do I have? And the person can look and see he only have enough time to make up to the rukur, and then he'll be in the bad time or the overdue period. He would consider that he doesn't have the time. So this is one of the measures. This is one of the ways they give you to measure whether or not you have to stop your prayer, get the things you need to clean yourself to make a new prayer. If none of that stuff exists and you don't have time, then you keep making your prayer, and inshallah, your prayer will be accepted. Okay. It says, therefore, your prayer is valid when you have water and you are not able to use it, or you have water, or you don't have pure clothes, or you don't have enough time to make a complete rak'ah. But if you fulfill these conditions and continue your prayer, then your prayer at that time is invalid. So if you have all the right stuff and you have it the right time, and you ignore all of that once you know that the purity is there, and you just go ahead and pray anyway, that's kind of like being lazy, then you might as well not have made the prayer, because according to the jurist, your prayer at that time, in that case, would be invalid. And let me remind you of something else. In the madhab of Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayh, when you invalidate Dhuhr, You can't make as without having made dua again. You have to fix the dua before the as would be accepted. So in this case, in our madhab, it's different than some other people do. You can't have as prayer, legally as prayer in good condition without first having law prayer in a good condition, unless the condition that keeps you from having law in a good condition is out of your control or ability, like a sickness appears and catches you or something like that nature that, comes from Allah, something that changes your ability, but out of your control. Allah don't punish for that. He don't make you responsible for that. There's some talk that if a person delays his prayer until the bad time for prayer, or what they call the qatta time for prayer, he delays his prayer. He could have made his prayer any time up to that point, and then something hits him that he can't prevent it and that he can't control it. He would still be responsible because he, in fact, delayed his prayer past the good time, just enough from the overdue time to say he has to do his Asa prayer right now because Zohar prayer time is going away. Well, in this madhab, it doesn't matter so much because you still would have to make Zohar properly before Asa would be accepted. So these are some of the technical things in regards to your prayers and your purity and your time that we're going to study in detail, inshallah. But for right now, you have to understand in the madhab Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayh, you can't be haphazard with your prayer. If you say, I'm going to wait to make dua, sure, you can wait. It's always better to make your prayer in the beginning period. The closer to its beginning period, the better the time for you. But Islam allows you to wait a little while before you, unless you're in the masjid and everybody else is praying at the appointed time. But if you're on your job or something and you're doing your work and you look at the adhan, you can hear the adhan from where you are, whatever it is, and you say, oh, time for my prayer, but I really want to be able to finish this. If you're talking about the beginning time of the prayer, you can finish your work, and then before the overdue time or the qadr time comes for that prayer, you can go and make your prayer a little bit late, or what we would consider as late in regards to the beginning time of the prayer. You can do this and still be considered in a proper time. But to do it for no reason, like let's just say a person just I don't feel like making my prayer right now. So that person holds on to the prayer, they don't make it, they finish watching TV or whatever they're doing, and for whatever reason, they delay their prayer all the way up to the end of the time for that prayer. Well, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends some problem to them that prevents them from making that prayer, they're going to still be held responsible for that prayer because they delayed the prayer so long that they are still responsible for it because they could have made it at an earlier time, in a better time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw fit to take away their ability. Nothing they can do about it, but because of the delay, unnecessary delay, now they have to make that prayer up to fix it. And in the madhab Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, before you can make the next prayer, you have to make the one that came before it. If it's Dhuhr or As or Maghrib or Isha, they share in time. So you can't make Isha prayer unless you had made Maghrib. You can't make Dhuhr prayer unless you can't make As prayer unless you have made Dhuhr. So in the madhab Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, these prayers share in time. Okay. At this point, I would take questions from the students because everybody doesn't hear everything the same way. Some students, they understand exactly what I'm saying already. And, you know, any other explanation for them is just like icing on the cake. But then some other students may not exactly understand, and I can't allow them to go away without a precise understanding in regards to these decisions, because these are the things that actually make up a madhab. You know, like a system. You can't buck the system. I think that's the term they use. You can't buck the system. So if you're gonna say I practice the madhab, you have to completely understand these decisions to a point that it becomes like second nature. Things, you know, things that you know you have to perform it in a certain way in order for it to be considered as valid. Okay, let me just finish this part and then I'll ask you if you need something. So if you don't fulfill those conditions I talked about, or you have everything you need, but you don't do it for whatever reasons, you don't take away the impurity, you will be punished in hell. The Shah Sagriya, they say that. This is one of two sayings of the things go in this area. It says the other is that it is sunnah, that you are ordered to do it as a sunnah if you haven't done it and you had all of the right things to do. The biggest one is that it is spotted. The biggest one is that in order for you to do the next prayer that is connected to it, if you for whatever reason didn't fulfill the Dhuhr and now you want to make As, you have to make the Dhuhr first and then you can make the As. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop here for a minute because I know you're going to have a lot of questions about this particular thing. So I'm going to ask Habib to open the mic to if anybody wants.
Yes, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.
So I'll give people a minute to type their questions in. We have a few.
I'm sure.
So this first question I'm going to ask is from Frank. I'm sorry, let me move a little bit. It's a little bit noisy. I'm sorry. Frank's question is, when we fast at home and Maghrib comes in.
No. Fasting is not here.
Okay.
You got to save that for at the end, maybe. I'm just talking about the things regarding this particular subject right now.
Okay. So we have one question. It's I don't know. I feel like they didn't type the whole question. It says, even if Asr is about to go out, So I think you typed part of your question. So if you can type the rest of your question, so I'll be able to ask it.
Yeah, inshallah, I'll answer the other thing, but inshallah, I'll be able to answer the other thing. But right now, I'm mostly concerned with the understanding of the students in regards to these decisions that I'm talking about right now from the book.
Mm-hmm. So as of right now, there's no
Okay, good.
other questions. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So it says,
oh, I'm sorry, Shaykh. So they typed the other half of the question. They said, do we need to make the Dhuhr prayer before Asr, even when the Asr prayer is about to go out?
absolutely. The longer you are away from absolutely. Listen to me. This is the way the jurists break it down. It says that the prayers is like if you borrow money from somebody. The prayers belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're his prayers that, we're required to pay Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala back through our prayers. So they say, it's like if you borrow something from somebody and you're supposed to pay them at a certain time. And for whatever reason, you don't pay them when you're supposed to. Well, the time that you don't pay doesn't get better for you as time goes on, it gets worse. This is why, let's say if a person is sleeping, you're not held responsible. If you were asleep and the prayer time came in, and then the prayer time left, you're not held responsible for what happened while you were asleep. See? But what you become responsible for is when you wake up and you realize, I didn't do this prayer, and now it's time for that prayer. What should I do? Well, because you've learned from the study of jurisprudence, what you should do is immediately fix the prayer that you didn't do. You shouldn't make a new prayer, another prayer, before you fix the one that you overslept, that you slept through. See? Because the more time you spend away from fixing that one is actually the problem. The shaitan, he like to confuse the people. So he'll tell you, oh, don't worry about that prayer that you were sleeping through, or the one that you missed or that you late for. Don't worry about that. This is shaitan, he'll tell you, nah, go right to the one that you that's gonna start now. Well, he's giving you the wrong information, because the one that you owe is bigger than the one that's coming in now. Because the one that's coming in now, you have time. You see, it's the new prayer. The one that's going out, that's the prayer that you have to be more concerned about, because the more time you spend away from it, the bigger is the problem for you with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the madhab give you some decisions that help you fight the shaitan over the lahi. You know your prayer time for this prayer is going away. The shaitan over the lahi, he's telling you, oh, don't worry about that one. That's old prayer. See? Because he wants you to be in trouble with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's pleasure to him. So he's trying to give you all the wrong information. And then somebody who knows, who studied these things, they'll say to you, wait a minute, that's not the way it's supposed to go. You got to make up this prayer that you slept through, or that you, for whatever reason, you didn't do it, before you go to the new prayer. Fix it. That person is Shaitan, his enemy, because he's trying to keep people on the right track. See? So if you owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prayer and you don't make it, the jurists say probably you're not going to make it. That you'll find another reason rather than go back and fix it. You keep going ahead until you forget all about that one that you didn't do. See? So what happens? The jurists say when that happens, you also owe the new one that came in that you didn't fix the old one. So now the Shaitan, he has compounded your problem by giving you the wrong information. So both things become wrong. You can't even do the new one and consider it as valid until you fix the old one. I hope you understand what I said. Okay, Habib, you want like this?
Yeah, Shaykh. No, I wasn't going like this, but there are some other questions.
Say it again.
No, I wasn't going like this, but there are some other questions, inshallah,
Okay.
that I can ask if you like. And some of them are not on topic, so I'm going to leave. So if I don't ask your question, I'm not disrespecting you in that. And I just want to save the questions for from another subject.
No, that's fine. I have no problem.
No, not you, Shaykh. That's you, Shaykh. I mean the other people. I don't want people to feel like I'm skipping over your questions.
Because they want the questions answered.
Right.
Yeah,
so I'm letting them know.
That don't happen all the time. Yeah.
So for everybody out there, if I don't ask your question right away, I see it, I'm just gonna ask it, inshallah, at the end of this lesson, if there's time. Someone asked a question. A sister asked the question. She said, "Can you combine Dhuhr and Asr if you know for sure that you won't be in a place where you can make Asr on time?"
Well, Allahumma salli wa salam wa barakallah Sayyidina Muhammad. Actually, the Mal Dhuhr wal Asr, the joint Dhuhr and Asr, it has other conditions that it's not included in whether or not you're going to have the time to be able to make Asr. So you combine. Okay. Dhuhr and Asr can be combined, yes, but not for that reason. Dhuhr and Asr can be combined when say a person is going to travel. When they're going to travel, they won't be in a position to be able to make Dhuhr and Asr in its right manner. So the jurists give them an opportunity to either make Asr in Dhuhr's time before you go, or to make Dhuhr in Asr's time after you arrive. So this is based on the itinerary of your travel. It's not like based on whether or not you're gonna be occupied during that time of the day, and so you want to make Asr early because you don't think you're gonna be finished whatever it is you're doing, and in Asr's time, proper time. So you want to make Asr early. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't make up your own time schedule and change the time periods of the prayer based on what is convenient for you in your day. It has to be things that are out of your control, like a person who's on an airplane or something that doesn't have any facilities for making prayers and these type of things. And so, based on the itinerary, when you will come back to land, that tells you whether you should make your prayer now, early for Asr, or late for Dhuhr. But when you come to ground, you're gonna have to make Dhuhr first, then Asr. And you have a choice. You can make Asr in Dhuhr's time or Dhuhr in Asr's time if you reach the ground in enough time to make, at least one whole rakah of Dhuhr, then you make Dhuhr, and then you join and make Asr. Okay, I hope you understood what I said.
Alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair, Shaykh. And you know, I really enjoy seeing how you answer the different questions very, directly. So I'm still taking notes, Shaykh.
No, mashallah. So I really, this particular question, the main thing that you want to concentrate on is you can't change the times for the prayer for your own convenience. You see, a lot of times person want to change the time for the prayer and say, well, I'm gonna make Zohar now, I'm gonna make Asr now, because I want to get on this train and whatever. So I'm gonna make Asr now. And then somebody else will say, but brother, the Asr prayer didn't come in yet, and I don't think you have the right condition to make your prayer early, because it's not even in yet. So this is a particular situation that can make a problem for a person, because they wanna do what they want to do when they want to do it, but you can't do that with these prayers. You have to fulfill all of the necessary conditions to say you have the right to make a prayer either earlier or later by your choice. Okay, Sharon, is this thing? Excuse me for 1 second, Habib.
Yes, Shaykh.
There's something says low system. Huh? Don't worry about it. Okay, so the people can't see that. I can see it. Oh, okay. All right, Habib, I'm ready, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. So someone is also asking, this is Brother Hassan from Philly. He asked if you could explain the 3 times of prayer. The 3 times of prayer. I think he means the choice time, the obligatory time, and the overdue time. I don't know if that's something you'll get to later, but he's asking if you could explain it.
Well, Frank always asks me that too, and it's just a big subject that it needs like a precision, like to answer, but I give a general description like I've been doing, is that the best time for a prayer is in its earliest time, okay? And then as the time goes, the best time goes away, it goes down until you get to just before the next prayer time for it to start. When that happens, then the time for the prayer that had already come in, now that goes into its bad time. So you got the 2 times that stay together are the obligatory and it's called the adda time. The optional and the obligatory time was called the adda, or the good time, the better time. The third option is called kada, and that's not an option. That means that you are now in an overdue period for that prayer. So if you hadn't made it, you got a little problem until you make it. So those prayers, when you get into the overdue period, you should make those immediately. You don't have time to play around or have a conversation, because for us, these prayers are like we're paying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I remember one time, Dr. Dunya, he said to me, the people have the wrong concept about these prayers. They act like they're doing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a favor by making these prayers. But in fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the ability to pay him back for his creation of us, that would allow us to have a wonderful future with these prayers, by these prayers. So if a person wants to thank his Lord, this is the method that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created for you to be able to thank your Lord, is through these prayers. And a hadith that talk about that is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, came into the masjid, and the people were all sitting, waiting for him to come for the prayer. But a few of them were kind of complaining, like it was early morning, the Sukkah prayer. They were like, I wish we didn't have to come out for these prayers every morning. Sometimes it'd be cold, and I would prefer to not to have to come and make these prayers here in the morning. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, "Oh, in that case, don't come." So they said, "What? Ya Rasulullah, you mean we don't have to come?" He says, "No, you don't have to come, you know." So they left the mosque happy. The Sahaba, they left the mosque happy. Oh, alhamdulillah, I'm not coming in the morning. I'm going to stay in my home near the fire, stay warm, and I'm not going to worry about that, So they went home. The next morning, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came into the masjid, they were all sitting in the masjid waiting for him to make the prayer. So he said to them, "Wait a minute. Didn't you leave here happy, telling me you don't have to worry, you're not gonna come for the prayer in the morning?" So they said, "Yeah, Rasulullah, yeah, that's what we said." He said, "Well, what happened? I see all of y'all are here anyway." So they started volunteering information. He said, "Well, I was in my bed, I was sleeping, and when it was time for the prayer to come, when I normally would get up and go for my prayer, I had decided I'm not going." And he said that the bed that he was on started to feel like he was laying in fire. And he jumped out of the bed and rushed to the masjid to make his prayer. Another one said, "Yeah, I was in my home and I started feeling like scorpions was biting me. So I said to myself, I think I better go onto the masjid and make my prayer." And that's what they did. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam started to smile. He said to them, "Well, I didn't have any doubt that when I came in this morning, I was going to find you here." He said, "Because your iman, your faith, wouldn't let you abandon this prayer if you had the ability to make it in the masjid with the people. So it's the making of the prayer, to do it diligently, is a big act of iman." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, when he talks about the morning prayer, he says in the Quran, "I know that it's difficult." He said, "But not for the people who are firm in faith." See? So prayers in itself are an act of faith. It's a way of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our creation. Doctor used to say, don't you think 6 or 7 minutes out of a day is a short time to thank your Lord? And once he said that, I felt that not only was it a short time that Allah made it easy for us, but I felt embarrassed, because I know that the people of stronger faith, they're gonna put in extra. Yeah, I'm just trying to get in the necessary, obligatory, and they're doing like 4 or 5 times better than me or more than me voluntarily. So, mashallah, I hope you understand what I'm trying to tell you, that these prayers are our blessing. They're, when the Prophet ﷺ went on his Isra in Miraj, it means his ascension to go visit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the heavens. And this ascension and these prayers are so important that he brought him all the way to Al-Arsh, yani, to where the throne is, to give him the information about these prayers for the Muslims. And originally these prayers were 50 times a day. 50 times a day. And the traditions say that when he told the Prophet ﷺ about the 50 times a day, the Prophet ﷺ went away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, okay, Yani Allah, 50 times is what the Muslims are going to do. You know, but as he's going back to earth, he's going back to tell the Muslims, he meets Musa alayhi salam, prophet. He say, well, I hear you just came from a visit with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophet said, yeah, you know, he assigned me prayers for the Muslims and so on and so forth. He said, well, what did he tell you? He said, well, he told us, he told the Muslims they got to pray 50 times a day. Musa said to the Prophet, he said, no, they can't make no 50 times a day. I've tried that with my people. They can't, they don't do it. They, you know, it's too difficult for them. Go back, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cut it down some. So to make the long story short, he went back 2 or 3 times, and each time he went back, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would reduce the amount of prayers that had to be made. But the last time, when he went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he had made a decision that he would, whatever Allah told him this time, that's it. He wasn't going back. He felt ashamed to have to go back and keep asking Allah to reduce the prayers. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it 5 times. 5 times a day. And he gave us a concession. He said each time counts as 10. So if you make 5 prayers a day and it counts as 10, you actually got 50 prayers in a day by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. So these things are so important that they are part of what's called the pillars of Islam, the principles of faith, the pillars of Islam. So these prayers, Muslims have to take care of these prayers properly to consider themselves as Muslim, ladies and gentlemen. I have no reason to fool you, to lie to you. That's what the shaitan, that's his duty, that's his job. My job is to try to help us save ourselves. Of all the things that you have to really, really be on top of and take care of is your prayers. Because the difference between a person who says they are Muslim and other people is that the Muslim's life have to show what he says to be what he is. You can't say I'm a Muslim and all your righteous talk if you don't keep up your prayers. It's one of the main foundations of faith. Unless the person is of a sicknesses and illness that won't allow them to do their prayers consistently. In that case, Islam even has a method for those people so that they can still maintain the rewards of prayer if they have to sit down, even if they're laying down and can't move, they can only move their finger. If you can only move your finger and you're physically, you can't do anything else, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what we can and cannot do, you would get the credit for your prayer when that prayer time comes in and you in the hospital someplace, or you sick at home, or whatever it is, and you can't move, and you don't know if you're going to be able to move anytime in the near future, and you want to get that prayer in, you make that prayer by whatever means you have available. The jurists say, even if you can only move your eyes to be symbolic of making standing, ruku, standing from ruku, sujood, sitting between sujood, standing. If you can only do that with your eyes or with your finger, whatever you can do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept that from those people who physically do not have the ability or capability to do their prayers when they're supposed to, or when they should be doing their prayers, but physically they can't do it. And if you're in such a sick strait that you can't even do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not make the prayers responsible for you. You don't have to make them up. That's what I'm saying. Okay. I'm going to stop this lesson right here for you to ask me something, inshallah. Okay,
Inshallah.
Dr. Rasul, please.
Yes. So, Shaykh, I guess I'll start by asking you some of the questions that people were still asking about times of prayer, and then I'll go to some of the other ones if we have time, inshallah.
As you like.
If we don't have time, we'll go to the next week. So someone asked, Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad. I'm looking for the question. So basically the question is this. Does the time for sunnah prayer end during the obligatory time or end at the qadda time? So and they gave the example, say they wake up for subh prayer and they have some time, they have a good bit of time before the sun comes up so they can make sunnah and make the fard, but they're in the obligatory time of prayer because they overslept a little bit. Should they make their sunnah or should they not?
Listen to me. This question, I had that same question come to me from a different city. And the people were having some kind of an argument, and so somebody said, no, let's call Shaykh Ameen. So they called me middle of the day and asked me the same question. But what he said was, for the subh prayer, the morning prayer, they had went past the time for the morning prayer. And for Fajr, what y'all call Fajr, we call it subh. And so now when they have the ability, it's like it's daylight. They haven't made that subh prayer, and they want to know, can they make the nafil that goes with subh and then make the morning prayer, the fard? So I'm going to teach you something that will eliminate this question from your mind from now on, inshallah. That's that the more time you take away from your fard prayer when it's overdue or when it's the time for the fard prayer, or anything that's going to take your fard prayer out of its right time into a bad time, you eliminate that. Do not make any nafil when it's out of the nafil's time. Nafil, I know you got different names for it. Some people call it sunnah, but in the madhab Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, we call it nafil. See, all those are called nafil. See? So you do not make nafils when you owe fard and you're losing the time for the fard. That would make the fard go further away from its proper time by you making the nafil. Do not make nafils then. You go straight to the fard that is owed or that you must be making before you could even make your next prayer that is fard. So the nafil has a time period. Once its time is finished, you don't make nafil. You make the fard. Now, after you make that fard that is old, if you want to make the new prayers nafil, no problem. But the old prayers nafil, the nafil time is over. When that time for that prayer is now in a late time, you don't make no nafil. You go straight to the fard. You don't make extra time away from your prayer, because that is, in fact, a violation of the things that we owe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your nafil at that time is more of a problem for you than it is good for you, because it takes you away from the fard prayer at the fard prayer's last good time. Okay, I hope you understand what I said.
No, Shaykh. And Shaykh, just because I know the person asking the question would need this, is it also the case? I remember you teaching us before that for the nafils for soup prayer, we can make them after the sunrise if this is our habit, if this is something that we're doing as a weird. Is that correct? Do I remember that correctly?
Listen to me. Once the time period for the it's two prayers that they have a small window for making the prayer at its right time. That's the Suk prayer, the morning prayer, and the Maghrib prayer, the evening prayer. Those two prayers don't have a big, they don't have a big opening for the time that the prayer has to be put in. It has to be put in precisely at its beginning time, because it doesn't have a lot of time. Like Zohar has a lot of time. You can delay Zohar for some time because Asr don't come in for like maybe 3 or 4 hours later. See, 4 or 5 hours later. But Subh or the morning prayer and Maghrib, the evening prayer, they come in and go out quickly. So you have to try and make those prayers in their right time. So if you making nafil, see, for Maghrib, the people of the Madhab Imam Malik, they tell you don't make nafil before Maghrib prayer. That's a bad time for nafil according to Imam Malik's mother. But I see the people, they come in, they'll make nafil 2 rakats during the time period that the madhab say don't make those 2 rakats. Save that until after you make Maghrib, and then you can make nafils if you want, but it shouldn't be done, before the Maghrib, right before the Maghrib prayer. I don't know, everybody got their way. So this is why I follow a madhab, so that I won't be responsible when I meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he say, well, why did you do this? I follow the madhab, all the scholars, and all traced back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I should be safe. Yeah, it ain't by my imagination or something. I'm just following. I'm totally. So the nafil for Subh or the morning prayer, the biggest one is called Shafar and Witr. Shafar and Witr are the voluntary prayers that should be done the last of the prayers at nighttime. See? So these nafils, Shafar and Witr, the last of the night prayer, are considered as big. And then you have what's called the Ragiba. The Ragiba is the prayer that comes with only a Fatiha and the movements, but no Quran recitation, and it's done quickly, just before you make the morning prayer. Just before you make the morning prayer. This is called Ragiba. It's considered as probably the smallest of the prayers, but its worth is the world and all that it contains. So we, in fact, have to know that this prayer that has all of this, even though it's a small prayer that's done very quickly, have all these rewards, but it also has a period that if you go out of that period, you're not considered as making ragiba now. You know, everything has to be in its right place. So a person who's making nafils out of its place are not going to gain those rewards. Just like the dua that the Muslims of the Madhab Imam Malik make in the morning time is called the Qanut. You can't get the reward of the Qanut if you're making it out of its right place and at right time. So for the people of the Madhab Imam Malik, the Qanut have to be recited in the second rak'ah of the morning prayer, or the fard of the morning prayer, before the ruku. That's where you make the Qanut. And it has to be in the beginning of that time for the prayer. You can't be coming late for the Subh prayer, and in the second rakat before ruku, make the Qanut, because it don't fit there. You would be making it at its wrong place and at its wrong time. So okay. I think you got the picture that you can't just make up your own period for prayer. You can't make it convenient because that's what you want to do at the time and still consider that you're gaining the reward of it. To gain the reward of it, you got to do it properly in its right time and its right place. There should be no nafils. When you owe a prayer that is fard, that takes precedent over nafils. You have to fix the fard that you owe before you start making nafils. Okay, as you like, Dr. Rasul.
No problem, Shaykh. Shaykh, I think, this is a great question a sister asked. She said, does the condition to make the prayer that you owe first, like make the missed dua prayer before Asr, apply when there's a congregational prayer occurring?
Oh, that's a good question, because actually this is a big decision of the jurists that many people do not understand. Okay. In the madhab Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayh, the decision remains. But if you're in an area where the people are making congregation prayer and you know they're making Ash, but you didn't make Zohar, what should I do? Because you realize that in this madhab, if you make Ash and you didn't make Zohar, then you have to repeat both of them. You got to make Zohar first. And let's say you had decided, well, I'm going to make this with the people because I don't want the people to think that I don't like this imam, and that's why I'm praying over there while they're praying over here, and I don't want to cause no dissension. So I'm going to keep them, I'm making prayer with them. Well, when you're making the prayer with them, you're not making Ash. You're making Nafil. But to the people, it appears that you're praying with them making Ash. So as soon as the imam makes the salam, you've done your responsibility to keep the dissension away. Now you know you have to make Zohar first, then Ash. Because what you made with the imam wasn't Ash, it was a Nafils. You get the reward of the Nafils, but to get the reward of the Ash, you have to make the Zohar first. So this is like only people of learning of these things are going to really be able to respond to it. Most people just, they're making it based on whatever they see the other people do, not from education. And this is the difference in reward. My advice to you is to learn how to do it by a system that when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the representatives of that system will also speak for you before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So before you won't have to try to explain yourself. The people of that system will say, "Oh no, they were following my way. That's my way. That was the way that I learned from the Sahaba or for whatever." And so they will also cheer on those other people and say, "Yeah, well, they're following the way that Prophet ﷺ left for us to follow. I don't know about this other stuff, but this is what we've been following all these years." So those are the reasons, some of the reasons why we learn how to do things according to a system. Okay. More?
Yes, Sheikh. I was just clarifying something somebody asked in the chat. So I think now, and I hope I'm not overlooking anybody's question, but I think now we can ask some of the other questions people were asking at this time. So one of the questions that somebody was asking about was about, well, this one I asked first because it's a short one. The sister asked, what are the conditions that allow you to pray while to sit while praying?
To sit?
Yes.
Okay. Generally, this is a subject matter in the book in jurisprudence that for nafils, there is no necessity, Muhammad. There's no necessity of a reason. For nafils, you can sit down and pray a rakat, then stand up and pray the other rakat, sit down for both rakats, stand up for both. They don't. For nafils, it doesn't matter. You don't need no excuse or no reason. But for fard prayers, it has to be that if you had to stand to do something in your prayer, you physically don't have the ability to do that. So, like let's say a person is very sick or they weak and they want to stand, but if they try to stand, they may get more dizzy or increase the sickness in some kind of way. They're ordered to sit down. What the people don't know is that sit down don't mean that always sit down. If you feel like at one time during the course of the day that I can stand at least for the parts of the prayer that's for standing, and you do that, and you sit down for the parts that, for sujood, you can do that because physically that's the only thing that you're able to do at the time. But you can't sit down for the whole prayer if you can stand for some of the prayer. You can't not make sujood if you have the ability to make sujood, and you just being lazy. That'll nullify your prayer. So when you say I'm going to sit, you got to know that sitting is like what you have the ability to do at the time. If you have the ability to stand before you sit, then you should stand before you sit because you have the ability. Generally, they associate sitting for your prayer with some type of infirmity. Like let's say they say when a person reaches 60 years old, some things in their body starts to change. And what they were able to do previously, sometimes they can't do that anymore. Then old age is considered as a reason that some people, have the right to sit. The only problem I have is that I was with Dr. Dunya many years, and he was in his late 80s, and his prayers, he was making his prayers so precisely that when he would stand up to push up to stand from sujood, the bottom of his stove would snap. You would hear it go like that. And for the life of me, you know, this older man was so energetic in his prayer that, you know, I was in awe. And like now that I'm like an older man myself, and I realized just how great that was, because sometimes I can't stand and make my prayer. You know, I'm like physically, you know, I don't always have that ability, so I sit down at least for the parts to go into sujood. You know, my knees don't respond well all the time. But I saw Dr. Dunya in his late 80s. He was so energetic that when he stood up from the sujood to go back to the standard, the bottom of his stove would go snap. That's how energetic he was in regards to that. And he was in his late 80s. So it depends on, you know, the person's physical ability. Everybody's not going to be the same. So you have to be honest with yourself. What you can, you push yourself to do what you can. And what you can't, then you take the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that gives you the ability to be able to do it in a way that you can do it. I had my daughter-in-law asked me about that last night, and because, you know, she has some illness, and if you're listening, this is the way you're going to be able to know that you're in a good position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that you judge things according to what you're able to do. Don't just take the easy way because it's easy, but you say what you can do is what you're going to strive to do. But if you're sick and you know that it's going to be difficult for you to do this, it's going to maybe even make you feel sicker, then you sit down. Okay. I think I answered that question in detail. So the person who is trying to increase their position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be very cautious on whether they're being lazy or is it that their body won't allow them to do things in this precise way. Okay, as you like, Dr. Hafiz.
Alhamdulillah. So a clarifying question. Somebody wanted to make sure that they understood the lesson about removing impurity correctly. He said, so just to clarify, if you don't have enough water and no other clean clothes, and you cannot make one rakat before the end of the obligatory time of prayer, he says it's optimal, but I know it's obligatory time of prayer goes out, then you must complete your prayer, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
And the prayer would be valid.
No.
That's right.
Alhamdulillah.
That's good. So what that told me was I didn't waste my time. They learned a principle that they're going to take that principle, inshallah, with them for the rest of their Islamic life. And they will be able to discern what they're responsible for in regards to this impurity and finding out why you're in the prayer and so on and so forth. Okay? So I'm very happy with that question. As you like.
Someone asked a question about, okay, so this is the first question that Brother Frank had. He said, when we fast at home and Maghrib comes in and we start eating and maybe we forget to pray right away, how much time do we have to make the prayer?
Generally, the ulama say, when you're late to start your fasting and you're getting ready to start your fast. You get ready to eat something because you need to eat something before you start your fasting. But the prayer time is now upon you. What should you do? Well, the majority of scholarship says you should eat something quickly that doesn't need to be cooked. Something that you can easily eat it and say that you're eating your pre-fasting meal. Something that does not have to be cooked, that will take a period of time away from the prayer that's coming in, or make it even later for you to start your fasting period. So the main thing is not to start eating a big meal at that time and do all this cooking and everything. And then after you do all of that, then you want to start your fasting day. No, they give you a detailed description. Tells you you are allowed to eat something that does not need to have fire, something that don't have to be cooked, something that is pre-prepared. You eat that as quickly as you can, but you have the right to complete the eating of it. Then you would go to your prayer. Okay, that's the traditional answer for that question. As you like, Dr. Hakeem.
Yes. So someone else asked a question about traveling prayers, and I think the question they're asking is, what are the conditions that allow someone to be considered a traveler and to pray their traveler's prayer?
Yes, it has to be 50 miles outside of your city. It's like, okay, let me see if I can be more precise. I'm in New York, and sometimes I go to Jersey. Now, actually, Jersey is more than 50 miles outside of New York, but I'm not considered as a traveler because in the olden days, like in the days before modern transportation, I would be considered as having to travel from New York to New Jersey a couple of days maybe to get, back in the Western days to travel, by horse or buggy or something like that. It would take me a couple of days to go the amount of miles. So you have to look at the mode of transportation. Like, can I cover 50 miles in an hour? Then I'm not traveling. See? And then you have to know where is in the city that you're in, where's this borders? Let's say you are now passing your city's borders and you're getting ready to go into another area. 50 miles outside of your city borders, you are a traveler. So somebody used to ask questions like, well, if I'm going from one part of South Carolina to another part of South Carolina, and it's more than 50 miles, am I considered as a traveler? Again, it have to be 50 miles outside of the border of your city to say, you traveling. So to go from one part of South Carolina to go to another part of South Carolina, even though it's more than 50 miles, the jurors are going to say, well, that's really not traveling. Now, if you say, and I'm going from South Carolina to North Carolina or to Atlanta, that's traveling. You see? So the general rule is that it have to be 50 miles outside of your area, your city that you're in. Okay.
Alhamdulillah. I think that's all the questions, Sheikh. If I missed your question, then really quick retype it in the chat so I don't miss it. And if you have a new question, type it in your chat now so I don't miss it. Maybe we can give you maybe 1 minute to retype your question or type a new question.
Okay, while you're giving them that minute, I want to tell you something. Allahumma salli wa sallam mubarak ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. This method of doing the online classes, you know, when Ajib brought this to me, I was kind of rebellious against it because I'm not a person who likes to go outside of the way I was trained. And this wasn't a part of that training. I don't even think these computers existed then in regards to doing it like that. The internet and all this stuff that they have now, they didn't have then. So my teacher and myself didn't think in terms of the future in regards to that. So I'm what they call a traditionalist. I like to do things the way I was trained, not I don't like to modernize things, but it has a place because I see the value by the way the people are responding. That, I have people that actually, they find my number, they search it out, they go to other people to, which, listen, guys, when you want to give my number away to somebody, you got to ask me first, is that okay? Because some people, they don't have good etiquette when it comes to, calling and stuff, and they have a question or something, and to them, that's like the most important thing. They got to have that answered. And, there's a lot of times they don't have patience or whatever, they want to take up a lot of my time because this is something that they want. And I understand that. Dr. used to tell me that when somebody got a problem or a question, to them, that's the biggest thing in the world. So, they're not considering, well, whether Shaykh Ameen got to take medicine or not, or did he get any sleep, or, no, they don't. They want their questions answered, and I understand that. But, you got to discern when you're going to give my number to people, who you giving my number to? So first ask me, because I may know the person. I may say, well, brother, can you tell them to just wait till Sunday and ask their question in the class or something like that? Because some people take advantage to the point that they, get making your life miserable. And, I'm not really like that young anymore where I got all this energy that I'm going to be able to answer everybody one after the next. But what I do like about this system is that many people have contacted me and said, Shaykh, please keep doing these classes because I thought I knew something that I didn't know. And the more I do these classes with you, the more I'm learning that the method of Islam is different than I thought it was. And that, I really need to learn these lessons. So, alhamdulillah, and I can tell from the way people are asking questions and these different things that they are learning. They are learning, And, I really appreciate the students that are consistent because I can almost guarantee you, Charles Barkley said, I guarantee. And then the team loses. But, Yani, I can almost guarantee that if a person is consistent with taking this information and trying to put it into their life, they're learning. They're going to learn, and before too long, other people are going to want to get information from you because your persistence and your diligence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards that with knowledge and wisdom. So you just keep it up. Don't stop. And one day you're going to wake up, you're going to say, hey, I really understand that. It takes a while sometimes. Everybody's different. Some people get it right away. Other people have to go through a process. It takes a little while. But when you get it, When you get it, nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can tell you. See, when you learn by a system like this, nobody can tell you you don't know. Now you're going to say to them, oh, so you saying that you knew better than Imam Malik rahmatullahi? You know better than Imam Abu Hanifa? Oh, you know better than Ahmed Dawdir, Imam Ahmed? So they're going to be quiet because no, it's no way in the Islamic world that they're going to know better than the luminaries of Al-Islam. So you can just dismiss them as being ignorant if they try to tell you, oh, well, you got to do it. He said, well, I'm following the madhab. I was trained in the madhab by people of standing, scientists in Islam. So you want me to ignore them and follow you? Why would I do that anyway? You just keep it up, and I guarantee, inshallah, you're gonna learn and be an excellent practitioner because you put in your work with diligence. You were patient. You continue to even when it got difficult. Allah rewards for that. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Rasul. You want to say something else to me before I'm finished for the day?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam rahmatullah.
Sorry, I was on mute. So I have one more question and I have a bunch of comments. And the comments are, people are saying, please tell Shaykh, Brother Hassan in Philly and his wife, Sayyidah Khadija, they're saying, please tell Shaykh, we love you very much and we're very thankful. Brother Amir is also thanking you. Everybody is saying, thank you and sending you love. So I want to express that because I think that's important. And, alhamdulillah, collectively, we're all very appreciative.
Positive reinforcement is important, but, I thank them too. I thank them too. But positive reinforcement is useful, but in Islam, it's not always possible. So, because sometimes the people don't like what you're telling them because it doesn't fit what they think it should be. So they may not be giving you positive reinforcement, but it's to their detriment when they're not looking at the fact that, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I don't know, and he's teaching me something. See, so I love them and I thank them too. You see, but as students who are practicing and may one day become teachers, you gotta know that what the people think does not necessarily mean that that's what you have to do. See, you may not be able to please them all the time, and you can't think in those terms. But I do appreciate the people who are, saying to me, keep doing the work, Sheikh, we're learning from you. Because for me, that is the biggest issue. When we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what are you going to be able to say about Shaykh Ameen? Can you tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala I didn't take my time and try and help the people? See, because that's what I was put here to do. So if I'm not doing that, then I'm failing. And if I'm failing, then don't thank me for failing. Because then I don't want to be responsible for you failing too. But if I'm doing good and you learning, alhamdulillah, then I'm doing the right thing. And whether you thank me or don't thank me, but I do appreciate you. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's keeping score. So if I'm doing good, he knows it. And, I'll get the reward. Because when you go and make wudu the way I taught you how to make wudu, and you follow those instructions, not only will you get the benefit of that, but I'm going to get the benefit of that too. Because I sure taught you how to do it properly. So, and vice versa, there's a brother. I'm not going to mention his name. Some of you really know him well. He's a well-known Muslim brother. He stopped me in the street one day. long time ago, back in the 70s. He said, "Oh, brother, they told me you studied with Dr. Suleiman Jr. and I need, you can turn it on. I need to ask you a question." Stop me in the middle of the street downtown. I said, "Sure, brother, what could I do?" He said, "The brothers in Brooklyn told me that I couldn't be a police officer, a fireman, a correction officer, or none of those because I have to take a pledge to do that work." And they say that was un-Islamic. I said, "What? No." So they telling you that you gotta be a guy who can't go forward in life. That you could only be a guy who sells incense or something like that, $1 a pack, or you can't make no real living. They're lying to you, I told them. They're lying to you. Don't follow that. You can be anything. You can be the president of this country if you fit the criteria. And because you're a Muslim, don't have nothing to do with you not being able to do all of that. You could be a multi-millionaire. Doesn't have nothing to do with keeping you away from Al-Islam. See? Oh, they killing my phone right now. So what I'm telling you is, don't listen to what people nonsense. Because that same brother, he became one of the most well-known, best correction people in the city, in the state. See? He was so well respected. When I told him that, and he said, "Oh, I'm going for it," I said, "Go for it." Not only did he go for it, but he became prominent. So that, the mayor and different people gave him props. See? And he always said, "But I'm a Muslim. You got to make your prayers. You got to make wudu." So he actually left those places where he was at before, and he came and he started being with me all the time. For years, maybe 15 years, for years. He was my security guy, and it was like maybe 10, 15 police officers that, were my security force. Because, they realized, hey, I can be a legal person with my gun and watch out for the Muslims with my gun. See? And Amru bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, and protect the people with my gun and be considered as doing the good thing. So I'm telling you, knowledge is what's going to help us as a people to go forward. Don't let nobody tell you we can't go forward. Yeah, Black lives matter, but all lives matter. See? And if you're dealing with Black Lives Matter as your main focus in life, but you're not making no prayers, then you got a problem. Because Black Lives Matter without prayers, without Iman, without wudu, you got no life, my brother. Somebody's lying to you. This is another trick of the shaitan, a'udhu billahi. He take your focus from the most important thing and he put it someplace else, and you think that thing is more important than the main thing. The main thing is your Iman, your faith, and your belief, and your practice. If you got those things good, you got it. If those things are not right, you better get them right. Because at the end of the day, whether Black Lives Matter or don't matter is not going to matter to you. What's going to matter to you is whether or not I did those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appointed for the people to have to do to be in a good position with him. You see? You can do anything else. But if you're not in a good position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the end of the day, you lost. Okay. As you like, Habib.
Alhamdulillah. Brother Hassan said, you don't got to worry about us not liking what you say. So you can hit us hard, Shaykh. We need it.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Shukran,
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah.
Alhamdulillah. And Shaykh, somebody is asking, we got a question from the YouTube. It said, if a person missed a year's worth of prayers, for a year there were a person who wasn't praying,
Yeah,
how should they go about making that up? Nah.
No, I get this question a lot. You know, there's some people talking about 5 years worth of prayers, 10 years worth of prayers. You know, what do you do with them? Because now, you know, it's so many, it's been so long. What do you do? So the Shah Sagriya tell you different little methods that you can use to try and, you know, because you got to try to make them smaller as to your whatever's in your ability. But the ulama don't really expect somebody who owe that many prayers to make up all of those prayers. So you'd have to throw yourself on the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at some point. But if you can make them less, you make them less by when you make Zohar prayer, instead of making the Zohar of today only, you make the Zohar of today and the Zohar of yesterday. See? If you do that for each prayer for a year, you would have gotten rid of that 1 year that you owe. Because and for each prayer, you make it twice. The prayer of today and the prayer of yesterday. See? And if a person follows that method, which is very difficult to do, they would straighten out a lot of their problem with their prayer. But you got to remember, a person have to eat, he have to work, he have to do a lot of things that making up all the prayers, you know, he got to sleep. You know, he may not, you know, the jurors say he probably won't be able to make up all of those prayers. When you owe a lot of prayers, you probably won't be able to make it. So, you know, you try to learn how to make your prayers as precisely as well as you possibly could. Sometimes you will be able to make some extra prayers on those parts. Instead of making just that one part, you'll make the prayer of today and the prayer of yesterday. You know, sometimes at night you may want to get up and instead of watching late night TV, you may want to make prayers that you know that you owe. You can remember from something last year that you didn't do that prayer properly, or something you want to fix it now. You make that prayer again. You know, you try, but you're not. You know, they don't tell you that you're going to be able to, you know, make all these prayers back up again. Okay, as you like.
Alhamdulillah, Sheikh. Because of the time, I'm going to say this will be the last question, inshallah, so that you can go and take food and whatnot. We don't want to hold you too long. But a sister's asking if a sister has missed prayers. I'm assuming she means, has missed fasting. I'm assuming she means for the month of Ramadan. And it's been over a year. How should she go about making it up?
Say that again?
So a sister has missed a fasting day. I'm assuming she means during Ramadan she missed fasting. She missed the day of fasting. And it's been over a year. How should she go about making up that day or those days that she missed?
She should, when she wake up in the morning, she should say, or before she go to sleep at night, she should say, tomorrow, this morning, I'm gonna start to make that prayer, that fast up that I lost. It's not exactly going to be the same, because once the day of Ramadan leaves, you never get that to say I made that day of Ramadan, but you say I compensated for that day of fasting that I missed, but it's not the same rewards as the day of Ramadan. It's just, you know, it's a compensation that you try to achieve. So yeah, when you know you gotta fix it, you just fix it. You don't have no special time. You know, you know, like a woman, if she's gonna fix a prayer that she fasting that she owes, she should talk it over with her husband. Say, I want to make I want to make a few days that I missed in doing Ramadan, I make them up. And he'll say, well, just let me know what days they're going to be. And yeah, go ahead and make it, fix your fasting. And she has to do it like when she's not ministrating, like the regular stuff. And she's not allowed to if a new fast came, she have to make the new fast, but it's preferable that she makes what she owes before the next year come in for the next fast. See, sometimes it's out of their control because a woman is getting pregnant with some difficulty, like often, her body is reacting differently to fasting than people who are not having those type of problems. If she has a sickness, sickly, she may not be able to fast like we do, and if it's chronic, it'll last with her for a long time and she may never be able to fix it, but you do the best you can. Like they say something about when something has to be removed, you have to try to remove what you can. Like, let's say a person, listen to me, I'm not telling you to drink alcohol, I'm using this as an example. Let's say somebody drinks some wine, fermented wine, and as long as they think that the wine has not turned into their system into something else, they're required to try and regurgitate whatever they can. See, because you have to lessen the impurity, even if it's in your body. Well, you got to try to make it less. You got to try to fix it. So it's the same thing in life. If you owe a bunch of prayers or you owe fasting, and you know it, you got to try and do what you can to lessen it. You may never be able to really fix it all the way, but you try to lessen it as best as you possibly can. Okay, is that enough now, Dr. Rasul?
Yes, Sheikh. That's more than enough. Thank you for everything, Sheikh.
Dr. Rasul.
Yes, Sheikh.
I want you to let your wife know, and all those other sisters who are trying to achieve something in education, and then turn around and try to teach the young people or the people, through their work. That I personally admire you doing that because it's very difficult to do it, especially when you have children and you married, those type of things. They're easier to do when a person is single, no responsibilities, or when you have responsibilities and these things, it's very difficult. It's difficult enough for men. It's even more difficult for women. But, in a society that is lacking certain things that a woman can help with, and she does it, she gains reward for it. Like they say, the jurors have a way of, Imam Ghazali, he say, if you in a place that have 150,000 doctors and you neglect certain things of religion because you want to be a doctor, they consider that as a poor choice, that you're making a bad mistake for your eternal life. So they call that a bad occupation. Bad occupation, see? But if you do the same thing in an environment that doesn't have, let's say for a doctor or a teacher or something, well, they don't have so many. So that means that, the sister who does it, she sacrifices some things. Well, they consider her as in a good occupation because she is serving a purpose, Yanni, that, you know, they need people to serve that purpose. So that means that it's now for her, it's a good thing. See? It's a good thing. So I'm telling you, you don't have to just be, you know, this quiet housewife that stays home all the time with the kids and consider that's the only thing that you have the right to do. That's not true. Not true. You have the right to do other things, but you have to do those things within the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the example of his family and his companions until, you know, you have the right, you know, and it has rules and regulations that go with it. Nobody could relegate you to, you know, having to sit in one room and watch kids all day. That's not the way it goes. You have the right, just like a Muslim man, he have the right to make business, to make a fortune. He have the right, as long as it's halal. See, he have the right to do that until he becomes the richest man in America. He have the right. But what he have to know is, when you become the richest man in America, you still owe an obligation to Islam. So you have to actually take care of the necessities to help other people. That's the whole idea. Who want to be wealthy just to be wealthy for themselves? You want to get wealthy so you can help other people. That's the sunnah. They say Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would get a caravan full of wealth. Full of wealth. Camels upon camels upon camels upon camels. Fully loaded with jewels and monies and everything. And by the time nightfall came, he had dispensed with all of it to the people in need. They say he did it so often that at one point he couldn't find nobody in need. And so he would, like, you know, they say he couldn't sleep because he didn't want to have all this wealth around him that he couldn't dispense with and give it to the people in need. So a lot of our way of thinking, we're Muslims. We got to know our way of thinking can't be the American way. It got to be the Islamic way. See? So things are not always the way they seem based in the society that you're in. So this is why we learn, well, what does Allah want us to do? So I'm telling you, you don't have to be no poverty-stricken person to be a good Muslim. Not at all. You can make a fortune. But just remember, a percentage of your fortune gotta go to the people who need it, to Islam, to build Islam better, these type of things. And once again, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy to us. We don't have to be poor. We don't have to, ladies don't have to just sit in one spot. Like, this is not the Taliban making the women, you know, be subservient and they can't do nothing else or they get punished. No. Islam is not about that. That's their decision. That's the people's decision. That's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's desire for them. See? So those ladies who put in their work and they're helping the Muslim people. My daughter sent me something called MAP. And MAP shows how all over the New York City, the Muslims that are helping the city in different ways. I was reading this thing, and I said to myself, now this is something that the people need to be able to see this and know about this. So when I get opportunity, I'm going to tell the people about MAP, because it's a very positive feeling to see Muslims in all of these different places in society that's doing things to help society. Because that's who we're supposed to be. Don't you get it? We're supposed to be the leaders of society. You can't lead society by just being the guy who sells incense on the corner. to lead society, you know, you got to do it from all walks of life, all walks of life. And the higher the level, the more effective, inshallah, you can be. Don't but do it in a representative method of Islam. I saw those, I was looking at that map and I saw those sisters in different positions, but they were all in hijab and they were all, you know, you can see that they were doing their Islam in spite of, you know. And yes, I'm sure that it's a big struggle, difficult struggle for them. You know, when these politicians, different people want to come up and shake the lady hand, and the lady, you know, she get in hijab. She don't want no man shaking her hand. She don't want to take no picture with some politician trying to shake her hand. So she'll keep her hands down. But to them, it's like they consider that as some kind of rudeness, maybe. But to her, she'll just tell them, well, I'm a Muslim. You don't do that. So listen, I hope you're getting my message. And the sisters that are married, you can't take this on without telling your husband and discussing it. He has to help you. Because when you have to come out, when you have to go out and come back, and it's nighttime because you had to go to a meeting or a class or whatever it is, if your husband is not there to help you to be able to fulfill that, then you can't do it. You need some, you have to have, Islam has to be the primary thing. So it allows you to go to look, search out and be, you know, a person that can get these different positions, things like that. But you have to still follow the Islamic methodology. You can't just do it just anything you want to do. You know, you have an Islamic method. So if you're going to be a representative of Islam, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And people, they don't read the Quran, so they be observing you. Hey, oh, look at that sister. She's supposed to be a Muslim, and she's in the bar with having a meeting with the other people in the bar. No, if you're going to be a Muslim all the time. Be a Muslim all the time. They got certain rights that, you know, in this country, one of the things that the African people used to say to me that they didn't respect the African Americans for was because we have some rights that we don't take advantage of. Whereas in their countries, a lot of their countries, if you speak up or try to do something that you know, unsound for you politically, you know, you can be chopped to pieces. You can be shot, hanged, speak out too much. They may take your tongue, chop your tongue off, you know. But we don't have that problem. So, you know, we got a lot of things that we can do here that they can't do in other places. And so that makes our responsibility to show our Islam even greater in some other places that they got to kind of keep some of their Islam hidden. We don't have to do that. And, you know, if you don't do it, it's because your Iman is weak, not because Islam prevents you or even the government prevents you. See? We got rights here. Okay. I talked enough. Inshallah, I'm going to send it back to Habib, Dr. Habib, for a minute or two. And I want to thank you for listening. If you have any problems, you know, that I can help you with, I'm more than happy to try to help you. But you need to go through Brother Habib or his wife, or if you're a lady, you know, you may want to talk to Imam Ahmed, somebody from his family. But I'll do what I can to help, inshallah. Okay, Dr. Rasul, you want to close out this part of the class?
Alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair, Shaykh. Well, Brother Ishaq, did you have any announcements?
I did have one announcement. If there's anyone on the line who attends the Wadhifa, we changed the time to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We changed it from 7 p.m. Eastern to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, starting today, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. So is the prayers also going up an hour? Does anybody know?
I didn't catch that, Shaykh. What was that?
Is the prayer time going up an hour too? Because see, these calendars now, they're finished. The
Right.
prayer calendars are finished. But I know from many years of being Muslim, at this time of the year, generally the prayer times are going like extended time. So what would have come in at 5 o'clock is now coming in at 6 o'clock or so, like something like that.
Mhm, mhm. Right. So the we noticed that Maghrib in a lot of areas on the East Coast
Right.
is coming it is
Earlier.
coming in earlier.
That's
Yes,
right.
it's coming in earlier.
That's
And
right.
so our 7 o'clock wazifa time is starting to make some people late for Maghrib. So we said we can't do that. We
Right.
have to change it. So yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yes,
So
sir.
also when so we're running out of this calendar is finished. So not that I suggest everybody, but for some people, these calendars are a necessity so that they can keep in tune with their prayer time. But if once these calendars are messed up, the time for them are gone. They don't. There's no more space. Then I can tell you we can go to Islamic Finder, and they'll have calendars that go year round that you can print out or have it online. Even sometimes on these computers, I noticed some people have the azan and prayer time that it comes up automatically. Okay, anyway, that's a convenience for the people who need that. And Islam allows you to do it. It's not like you're doing no sin or nothing. As a matter of fact, some ulama think that it's the best way to keep people organized is to use these computers. The history of Islam doesn't exactly agree with that. It says that the first priority is to know how to find your prayer time by the sun, moon, stars. But in today's time, they make an allowance for the people who don't have that ability and let us use these calendars. Okay, am I good now, Doctor?
Yes, Sheikh. Jazakumullah khair. Can you please go, Sheikh? And right after the class is over, I want to, if it's okay, I want to call you just to tell you something really quick.
Okay, just let me make my prayer first.
Okay.
And then you can call me, and I'll leave
Okay,
the phone. I'll leave the phone on so that I can receive your call. Inshallah, I have calls on this phone now. I didn't answer, and it's gonna explode as soon as I finish.
Okay, Sheikh.
Yeah.
You want me to just call you later?
No, you can call me. While you're thinking about it, I just want to be able to make the prayer first. So
Okay.
wait like 10, 15, 20 minutes.
No problem, Sheikh.
And then, call me.
No
Inshallah.
problem. Thank you,
Hajj,
Sheikh.
Hajj Dawood. Can he answer? Assalamu alaikum, Hajj Dawood.
Sheikh, I think he might have had to get off at some point. I don't see his name, yeah.
But if you get this message, I'm gonna get back to you later on this evening, inshallah. Okay. Thank you everybody for coming to visit with me.
Thank you, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum. اللهم إني أسألك من كل خير سألك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم وأعوذ بك من كل شر استغفرك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما لنا وما أنت عالم به من نار ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الماء وممات اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الماء وممات. This is very big. When our life is finished and we go in the grave, the beginning of that period will tell what kind of life you're going to have hereafter. So if you go in that grave and when the angels come and they ask you and you give them the right answer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with you. The angels will cheer you on. The people from your family, from your history, family history, they will hear and cheer you on and be so happy for you, because the life after that beginning period, if you did good, it's going to get better and better and better and better and better. But if you give the wrong answers, for many of those people who will say, well, I don't really know. I heard this or I heard that, but I didn't really, participate in it one way or the other. I heard about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam something, but I don't really know. That's the wrong answer. And so they say that the wrong answer is going to put you in a bad position, that the person who gives that wrong answer is going to be in that position eternally. See? Because once this life is over, the opportunity to change things and to do more better for yourself is gone. It's gone. That's why we have to do as much as we can do now, in this world now. Don't wait and think, it's going to be all right. How do you know? Like Doctor used to say, did Allah promise you that? You got to put in your work in this world now. Because once this world now is over, and you go to the next one, you better hope you're saying the right things, because you don't get a second chance. It's done. That's what this life is for. This life is for putting your life together for later. It's like putting money in the bank. You put money in the bank, and when the time comes that you have to get your money out of that bank, you got something in there. You can go and buy you some groceries. But if you didn't put nothing in there, and you're poverty stricken now, they got a famine or some problem, and you can't get your money out of that bank because you didn't put no money in there, you got a problem. Well, that's what our life here is like. Putting our money away for good deeds, putting our money away for trying to do good, making our prayers, all these type of things. This is like our bank. So when we die and we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's when our bank is going to come into big play. He's going to say, oh, you did good. You put a lot of money in the bank. A lot of the, money for us is good deeds. See? That's why when you get an opportunity to do good, any type of good. You get an opportunity, and the best type of good is helping other people. You get an opportunity to do good, jump on it. You're not losing nothing. You gaining. It's like you putting something away for later. Okay. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الماء والممات ومن فتنة القبر ومن فتنة المسيح الدجال ومن عذاب النار وسوء المصير وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. السلام عليكم. Okay, Habib, I'm gonna make my prayer. Brother Stock, if you wanna say something else, I'm gonna stop now and I'm gonna close my computer, inshallah.
No, Shaykh, I think we're finished, inshallah. We want to end with your dua, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.